Good morning and welcome to Dugout Dialog. I'm your co-host Blake.
And I'm your co-host Matt. And on today's episode, we're excited to talk about the best pitchers and hitters this week, rapid fire questions around the league, and what we are watching this weekend. So let's get started and jump into action. Blake, who is the pitcher you've decided to highlight?
Well, the hard question is rather not who, but what team. And I have a hard time not wanting to pick a player from the Phillies. The entire team is red hot. But Ranger Suarez is today's highlighted player, left-handed pitcher, age 28. And this season, he is doing outstanding things. And my favorite part about it is I love me a good crafty lefty. I love me a guy who uses his zone up and down, We'll get into that in just a second, but he's had 66 total innings pitched in 10 starts. He's only given up 4 home runs so far with 12 walks and striking out 68. 68 batters with only 12 walks. That is elite stuff. And I attribute that to controlling the strike zone with precision. And I was watching tape and reviewing what he was doing, and boy, is it fun to watch because he does such a good job of confusing the hitter where he's got a fastball high and then he'll throw you a curveball that starts here and ends down here. And so he's always changing your eye level. And so you never really know a zone of where to try and pick up as a hitter. So he's always moving around. And the pitch speed differential being 15 plus at times is elite too. So, and the guy doesn't even throw all that hard. I think he tops out at 95, which is hard, but in today's MLB, I'd consider it to almost be average. So, Ranger Suarez is my highlighted player. And before I toss it over to you, he's doing something special in Philly that hasn't been done in a long time. I got a stat here that Suarez lowers ERA to 1.36. It's the third lowest ERA by a Phillies pitcher in his first 10 starts of the season. He only trails Alexander, who pitched a 1.24 ERA in his first 10 starts in 1916. And then the second being a 1.31 in 1915. So he's doing things that haven't been seen in Philly, and I'd argue he's not even the best pitcher on his team. I mean, we're seeing stuff in the Phillies that we haven't seen in a long time. What do you think about Ranger Suarez?
But you're highlighting the thing to me that's the crazy part. We're talking about Ranger Suarez, who in itself is just remarkable and miraculous what he's doing. But I mean, he's behind Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola. It's like what? Like this? He's perennial Cy Young contender right now, and those guys are also on the team. So
against his own teammates.
And I'm blown away by it. There are other great pitchers to highlight. Shota Imanaga, Tariq Skubal, Chris Sale, Tyler Anderson, but Ranger Suarez is on top right now.
I do love me a good lefty, and I love me a crafty lefty because crafty lefties tend to pitch better. They don't have the velocity to blow it by you, but again, as I said earlier, they change eye level. They make the hitter work. And Imanaga is a great example of someone who'll throw at 93 in the outside corner and throw a slider in your back hip if you're a right-hand hitter and make you look silly. So that's just something else. But that's the pitcher that I'm highlighting this week. I think you've got a hitter that you really, really want to talk about, and I can't wait to hear about him. Why don't you lead us off with who you're highlighting this week as a hitter?
Well, it's hard to ignore that O'Neal Cruz, the shortstop from Pittsburgh, is hitting lasers. Laser, blazer, out of this world gone. I mean, there was this crazy stat that was, he hit it so hard that it went 150 feet, which is half a football field, and it was only 7 feet high. So that ball was just moving.
Just a tick below tick above his height.
Just a tickle above his height, right? 6'7", just barely. But that just because he may be the exit velocity king at the moment, everyone needs to all rise because Aaron Judge is the hottest hitter in the month of May right now. It's not even close. And it's crazy that both these guys are giants. They're both 6'7". And on top of that, Judge is just hitting the ball. Like it's not just hard. It may not be as hard, but he's connecting. So what's wild is that right now he has a lower strike rate, a higher walk rate, and a better barrel rate than his 2022 season where he hit 62 home runs.
That's a crazy stat.
Crazy stat. And, as he's, when asked what is contributing to his hot streak, he just said, I'm just not missing the ball. I'm getting a pitch to hit. I'm just trying to get a barrel on it, and it's working right now. And
sure.
and it's working. And the important thing I want to focus on is the barreling, because that stat, which to be considered a barreled ball, is a batted ball that requires an exit velocity of at least 98 miles an hour with a launch angle between 26 and 30 degrees. So essentially, it's just getting the peak prime area of a ball to get it at the right flight angle.
Yep.
In the last 19 days, Aaron Judge has 24 barreled balls. The next closest, which is O'Neal Cruz, is 15. And then you have Juan Soto at 13. And then you have Bobby Witt and others at 11 and Stanton at 10. But just in the month of May, he's hit 25 of these such balls. His stats in May are staggering. He has 10 doubles, 8 home runs, 16 RBIs, 18 walks, and 18 strikeouts. I mean, he is a true disciplined hitter at the moment. And I mean, he's moved his average from the start of the month where he was hitting 200. Now he's hitting 270. He's moved his average 70 points. It's wild. I mean, he's having a blazing May. And yeah, I mean, that's why I have to highlight him.
Absolutely. And he's well deserving of that accolade. And I'm going to point out that, a guy's hot when he's got more doubles than home runs. Oh, how dare you with that LA mug? Oh, how dare you?
I'm just diversifying our audience. What do you mean?
So 10 doubles with 8 home runs and 16 RBIs in that stretch. And let's not forget, he's got 18 walks as well, which is that's a guy who's seen the ball. And it's not this little thing. It's a freaking beach ball. He's seeing the ball in a different way. And as we transition into segment 2, I've got a number of questions for you here, Matt. And a couple of them have to do with hot hitters, but I got a hot team that may not be as hot. And I got a question for you. With the Baltimore Orioles being swept by the Cardinals for the first time that the Orioles have been swept in 2 years, are you more impressed with the young team learning to win, or are you more impressed with the Cardinal team who's below 500 coming in and beating them?
You phrased that question a little differently than I thought you were. So that's interesting. I mean, I would say I'm more impressed with a young team that has gone so long without being swept. And it's very interesting that this year is the year that they would be swept because it just seems like they're so balanced. So I mean, I'm still encouraged by what St. Louis is doing, but I'd like to see the longevity of that. Maybe it could be a springboard for them, like the Atlanta series was with Colorado, where they went on to go on a tear and kind of like dig themselves out of a hole. Maybe St. Louis can do that for themselves. But I'm still impressed with a young team going 2 years without being swept. I mean, that to me is a remarkable stat.
Absolutely. And we're both Angels fans. We don't go a whole week without losing a series. So for a team to go 2 years, we find that to be rather remarkable. Moving on to the next question, we've got Ketel Marte with the longest active hit streak at 21 games as of this recording. The interesting part about this is not the hit streak, but he's having a 21-game hit streak with batting .270. Do you think that's sustainable? What are your thoughts on this hit streak?
So the curiosity for me with the hit streak is it's impressive to have a hit streak of 21 straight games getting a hit. What has been really interesting is that he started the month of May with an average over 300, and yet as he's hit the ball more, his average has gone down to where now he's below 270. So for me, I'm still impressed by it. He hit a home run just yesterday, so that still is going to be amazing to me. But I'm just curious if the hit streak wears so much on a hitter that every single at bat gets amped up that much more. I mean, you're trying to be focused for every at bat, but how much more when on the forefront of your mind, it's I got to get a hit this game, right? I got to keep this thing alive. And so I wonder if that kind of is propelling him not getting a multi-hit game and just getting a single hit in a game.
That's a great point, and the focus of getting a hit to make sure you keep it alive. If you're cognizant of what's going on, off camera, you and I were talking about it, and I was talking that a player who is in a hit streak and continues to get hits tends to be more mentally locked into the game because they have that goal in mind. If you're not in one of those and you're just like, I have 4 at bats today, I hope to get a hit, it changes the way you think about it. And so I'm glad to see him go through that hit streak in a positive way, and I hope he keeps it up. I think it's really impressive, not only the hit streak, but to do it on such a low average. That tells me that's a guy who's almost like hyper focused on this streak to make sure that it continues at the same streak. Speaking of streaking players, I've got another Yankee we need to highlight. We already talked about a hot Judge, but who do you think's setting the table for him? We've got Anthony Volpe with a 15-game active hit streak. You've got the 2 hottest hitters between Soto and Judge hitting behind him. Do you think Anthony Volpe is the one setting the table for them for the Yankees hot streak?
No, I do not think Anthony Volpe is setting the table for what the Yankees are currently doing right now. And the reason I say that is because I think their pitching actually has more to say with their current streak right now and all their wins than Volpe does. That's because there's additional contribution from Stanton, Soto, Rizzo. Judge is obviously the hottest of all of them, but that collection, is definitely helping the offensive game. But it's the unsung heroes that I think are really propelling what the Yankees are doing. You have Luis Gil, who just went today and threw another fiery start. 6 innings and just dominated Seattle. But prior to that, you had Clark Schmidt, who's having a very good season, and all of that to say they don't even have Garrett Cole. He's not even back yet. I mean, they're doing all this with a really young team. And so that to me is more of what's turning on the Yankees streak than Anthony Volpe. But with that said, I love seeing the Volpe has come alive because, he had a lot of pressure on him last year, kind of being attached to, a Yankee great with Derek Jeter and having to fill those shoes so young. So I love to see the turnaround, but it's not exclusively him.
I did see a clip that Cole was throwing off the mound in New York, so we know that he is getting much closer to his return. So that's an encouraging sign to see, and we're excited to see him back on the mound because when Garrett Cole is firing, man, he is elite. We're going to turn our attention to what we're watching this weekend. We've got what would not seem like an exciting series, but I think that this series is going to be one that sets the precedent for going into the summer, and that series is the Royals at the Rays. What are you looking for in this series here, Matt?
I think a big thing that I look forward for these weekend series is the pitching. So, Friday we have a Cy Young contending Seth Lugo against what so far is listed as undecided. So I don't know if it's going to be a bullpen game for Tampa Bay, and I'd like to give that nod to Kansas City because Lugo's been so hot. But I also want to be cognizant and aware of the franchise I'm talking about because Tampa Bay knows pitching. So just because it's a bullpen game does not mean it's going to be like a blow up. Like they could have guys going every inning, a new pitcher and still light it up. So I think that initially Kansas City could get off to a good start, but you still have Brady Singer, Aaron Savali on Saturday, and then Michael Wacha and Taj Bradley on Sunday. Saturday and Sunday could still be toss-up games from a pitching standpoint. That's something that I like to highlight is what do those pitching duels look like? What are you looking for in this matchup?
Well, I'm looking at the trajectory of the two teams and between the Royals and Rays, and something that I found pretty astonishing is that the Rays have a minus 40 run differential, which is the worst in the league for a team hovering around 500. And they're also working off a 4-game active losing streak. So that tells me that they're just not hitting. They're not hitting the same way that we're accustomed to the Rays really coming through and dominating like they have. I could think of near memory of the last 3 years. So I think that in order for the Rays to be relevant, they need to improve their hitting. They need to improve scoring more runs. on their next series after they face the Royals. They face Oakland at home, then they go on the road to face Baltimore, then Marlins. If I'm the Rays, I need to be hyper focused on this series to try and take 2 of 3 against the Royals. I need to go dominate Oakland, try and take 2 or 3 from Baltimore, and then take on the struggling Marlins to try and keep pace with the Baltimore Orioles and the Yankees being as hot as they are. What are you looking for in the Royals in this series and moving forward?
Can the bats stay alive? Salvador Perez has just continued to be fantastic. And that matches well when you have Bobby Witt and you have, was it Michael Massey at second base? I mean, you have some unsung heroes with Kansas City. Michael Garcia. Like you have just some guys that probably didn't get like a lot of attention or limelight to start the year, but like they're playing fantastic. So
Yeah,
I'll
they're
just
playing
continue
good
to see if
ball.
Kansas City can replicate and keep going offensively what they have. And then the pitching is an equal surprise as well. But yeah, Seth Lugo and Cole Reagans. But I'd like to really see if the hitting is what can stay active.
Yeah, I would like to see them continue to go with the same route. Coming up with the Royals, they're going to play the Rays. Then they go at the Twins, who are 26 and 23 right now. Then they're at home against San Diego, who's 26 and 26. They've got a stretch against 500 teams where they could go 7 or 9 games before they go and play the Guardians in their division, and really kind of make a statement. Because the Guardians are playing great baseball right now too. So we got to pay attention to that. I think that this is going to be a fun series to watch. And on Monday, when we recap this series, I think that it's going to tell a story of how each of these divisions may line up. But I want to thank everyone in the audience for tuning in to Dugout Dialogue today. We hope you enjoyed our discussion.
Do you have a question that you think Blake and I should answer on the show? If you do, you can connect with us on all social media handles like X, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, or even by email at dugoutdialog@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm your co-host, Matt.
And I'm your co-host, Blake. Thanks for tuning in today to Dugout Dialogue, and we'll see you on the next episode. Talk to you later, amigo.